Basically is taking the old food pyramid,
turning it upside
down.
That's
Because it really is, before the big area on the food pyramid was bread and pasta and rice and all these grains. How do you fatten something up? You give them grains.
For decades, we've been fed a corrupt food pyramid that has had a myopic focus on demonizing natural, healthy, saturated fats and ignoring a giant blind spot: refined carbohydrates, added sugars, ultra-processed food.
We're going to have you kind of come along with us. We're going to watch a new video that the government just put out about the new food pyramid. I think you'll find it very interesting. We sure did.
Yeah, Senator Kennedy is the one that was kind of behind the new push to change everything to go to real food. And they have developed a website called Real Food. And so we are going to watch the video and we'll talk a little bit about it afterwards.
You sure will.
America is facing a full-scale health emergency. More than 70% of adults are overweight or obese. More than half are diabetic or pre-diabetic. Chronic disease touches nearly every single American family. This did not happen by accident. It happened because real food was pushed aside, replaced by highly processed products. Junk food became the foundation of the modern American diet, and we're paying the price with our health. But that ends today. We are resetting how our nation eats. Real food is back at the center of the American diet. Real food that nourishes the body, that restores health, that brings back energy, and that builds strength. This is what it takes to make America healthy again. Under the leadership of President Trump, we are reclaiming the food pyramid and fixing a system that has been broken for far too long. Today, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins introduced the most significant change to federal nutrition guidance in the history of this nation. This is the new pyramid, Dietary Guidelines for Americans, a national reset built on real food.
Wow. You know, this is something that we've been doing or talking about in our practice for
25
years. Or more, well, over 25,
right,
28,
25
29 years.
Yeah.
And to now see it, I guess it's taken that long to come to fruition to where we now have it. So
yeah, and there's no doubt over that last 28 years, the health of people have declined so rapidly. And we've noticed and we've been telling people forever, you can't go by the food pyramid. How often did we say that? Now we don't have to say that anymore because they can go by the food pyramid.
You know, if you look at the old pyramid, the very tip top of that pyramid, I mean, the very top was a dab of fat and proteins, not much. This new food pyramid completely turns that upside down because protein and even essential fats are so essential for good health. Now they're on top. I mean, they're
technically is taking the old food pyramid,
turning it upside down.
Because it really is, before the big area on the food pyramid was bread and pasta and rice and all these grains. There was all these grains that they were telling you to eat. And how do you fatten something up? You give them grains. So the thing is it was fattening up America. So the old food pyramid was definitely making a difference in turning people diabetic, making fatty liver, and actually making them obese. And then they would go a little bit down, fruits and vegetables was even smaller than grains. And then at the very top, you'd be your proteins and a little bit of fat. So, I mean, it was definitely not the way you want to eat. We have been telling people for 20 something years, it was backwards. And that's exactly what they did is they flipped the pyramid. Now, on top, where you want the most of what you eat is to be your good proteins, your good fats, your vegetables, your fruits in whole form. And I am going to say that.
Yes.
Whole fruits and vegetables. You do not want to do all your drinks and pulverize them and, have all the sugar that you're eating. And then at the very, very bottom was whole grains. But then when you really look into what they're saying, it says true whole grains, not packaged processed carbohydrates. So we're talking about making maybe your own bread and eating a little bit of it and using a whole grain to make it yourself. It is actually a big wave. We've actually done a video on how to make einkorn bread, and it's one of our biggest videos because people are wanting to make some changes. The bad thing is the statistics for kids is another reason they wanted to change the food pyramid. because when they looked at teenagers, this is according to the government site, is that 20% of all kids were obese. A third teenagers were pre-diabetic or diabetic, and 18.5% of kids already had non-alcoholic fatty liver. Now you're talking about having some severe chronic illnesses as time goes on, because we didn't see that as bad 20 years ago, and now you do. So if things don't change, there is going to be even a bigger healthcare crisis in America.
No doubt, 20 years ago, there really wasn't anything called a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The only people you saw it in was the alcoholics. And now it is prevalent. We see it constantly.
Yeah, we've seen it so much that people are getting to where they don't think it's any big deal.
Right.
Oh, my doctor said I had non-alcoholic fatty liver, but everybody else does too. That's what I've heard from people. And just because everybody else has it doesn't mean you want it, because I have seen it turn to cirrhosis and I have seen it kill people. So it is not something that you should take lightly. And it's not something that should, just because everybody's getting it, it's okay. And that's kind of what's gotten to be a problem, is diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver, all this is getting so common. People don't think it's any big deal.
A couple of years ago, just on the fatty liver thing, a couple of years ago, I had a patient that I convinced to do some testing about the fatty liver, because she was very resistant to, it's no big deal, it's fatty liver. But there's some tests you can do. There's one called FiberSure test. It's really eye-opener, okay? And it was a game changer for her, because when it came back, it actually showed that, she was in stage 3, and stage 4 is cirrhosis. Now that scared the bejesus out of her. And that was a couple of years ago. She's lost a little over 100 pounds now. No more fatty liver. We've retested it. Fatty liver's gone. She's back to perfectly normal. But it was a real eye-opener.
Yeah. You can actually reverse a lot of these chronic illnesses if you change your diet and if you do the right things to go along with it. I am really glad this food pyramid changed, because maybe it's not just us telling people that now. Maybe we're not the crazy ones.
Yeah.
So we have been telling people that for years, and we're glad that it's actually finally being told more nationally.
I think that's the key is, this is going out to where the public's getting it, and they'll be able to see exactly what we've been telling them is, and that's based on science. They didn't just do this, based on, I don't like that food pyramid because it doesn't look right or whatever. They based it on the science. The science has been unfolding over the past 30, 40 years.
Yep.
That's the key.
We've noticed it on lab work. We do lots of lab work, and on our lab work, it has been changing. And people, younger and younger and younger. So we do see that, what they say about the kids.
Oh, yeah.
The statistics on the kids are not just made up, because we do see it. It is something that needs to be addressed. And as for some reason, a lot of parents think, oh, well, they're kids, they can eat what they want. Well, that's not true. If they eat what they want, they're going to actually be sicker earlier. And they're actually going to have these diseases that used to not be until the 50s and 60s. They're having it now in the 20s and 30s. It is time for America to wake up, change your diet, get on a real food diet, and start going by this new food pyramid.
I totally agree with that. I think this new food pyramid is going to be a real game changer. It may take 5, 10 years, something like that down the road.
Changes.
But if you think about it, any big change like that does take a long time.
Right. And you need, I hope the schools adopt it. I hope the schools start giving healthier food lunches, because that's been bad since probably I was in school, 40 years ago. It is, the school lunches definitely need to be changed.
Yeah.
And that is what a lot of people think is okay to eat, and it's not. But if you don't want chronic illness, and you don't want to have all these problems as you're getting older and want to be on a list of medications, you do want to start changing your diet now. And if you're watching this, it's probably somebody that is interested in making some changes. It is something that you can change. It's a decision that everybody has to make, and you can change your health outcome. And if you're already having problems, it's not too late. We have a lot of people that we help reverse the process of some of these chronic illnesses. May take a little longer, but it is definitely doable. So if you are one of those that already has a chronic illness and you need help, contact us. We have mini lab panels that can actually help pinpoint some of your underlying problems, help your nutritional deficiencies, get you back on track. But no matter what we do, you do have to change your diet.
No doubt about that. And one parting thing, let's don't fall for some sort of fad thing. I think that's another thing that people, and Americans tend to kind of go for that, I guess. What's the latest fad? Let's don't fall for that fad. Let's just get back to, like she said, real food. real meats and vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds and things like that.
Eggs.
That's real. Eggs. Oh, yeah.
Eggs are not bad.
No.
They are on the food pyramid, the new food pyramid. If you look, I mean, it'll even tell you when you start reading in depth about the food pyramid that even cooking with a little bit of butter or
Yes.
a little bit of
Tallow.
that's
Lard.
all better fats for you to eat instead of eating a lot of these seed oils. So it's not just about all fat is okay, because that was one of the big problems is they've made good fat the enemy over the years, but still bad fat is not good. So you have to know the difference between good and bad fats.
That's true. Well, thanks for joining us today. Well, we got a lot out of it. Hopefully you will too. Thank you again.